let's get started. We're going to talk in this video about the rollers and shafts, and those are basically, we're going to talk about all the wide pieces on the machine. So I've got these two here. There are some differences and I will explain those to you, and then we're going to bring the Seal 62 Pro in because they do things a little bit differently on that one. First thing we always talk about when we talk about laminators are the rollers. That's those big blue beauties right here. Generally, rollers on a wide format laminator are going to be coated with silicone, and they may or may not have a crown. Now, as far as from a technician standpoint, the crown is more of a design thing, so it's not something you're going to be able to do anything about when you're doing a repair. It's just a matter of how the machine is engineered. And the crown is just in there to compensate for flex in the top roller when you apply pressure to it. So rollers are usually silicone. Sometimes they're going to be made out of a cheaper material that's called EPDM, or what some people call UV rubber, and those are generally always going to be orange or red in color. So you're always going to have a set of main rollers on the machine. You also may have a set of pull rollers. So the way I've got the machine set up here now, you can't see, but on a dual heat machine, there's always going to be another set of rollers in the back, and that is so that you can do encapsulation. The reason why is the film needs to be held tight while it cools off so that it doesn't come out looking all wavy like a roller coaster. So you've got main rollers and pull rollers, and then you're going to have what we call unwinds or supply shafts. The unwind, you can see on the Orca here, and maybe you'll be able to see this bottom one better. Sometimes they swing out, and this is really just made for ease of loading the material. They'll swing out like this, same way on the Seal here. And then on the unwind shaft itself, you're going to have two different methods of applying brake tension. So they're always going to have a brake on them of some kind, and this one uses what we call a shaft brake. So you'll have some type of core adapter that grabs the inside of the cardboard tube on your material, so that when the tube turns, it actually turns the shaft. So you can test the brake on this shaft. If I loosen this up, it's going to turn real freely when we have no brake. As we apply brake tension to it, it's going to get harder to turn. So one thing that's important here is if you've got material that's slipping on the core adapters, the brake is not going to work. So if you're having trouble with getting the proper brake tension, you may need to put a roll of material on here and make sure it's not slipping. So those are your unwind shafts. Now on the Seal, they use a little bit different method. So if you'll notice, this is a wider shaft. So this doesn't use a shaft brake, it uses a roll brake or a material brake. So as I tighten the brake on here, it basically puts the squeeze on the material roll that's on here, and that's how you get your brake tension. So this shaft does not rotate. Really, the roll of material itself becomes part of the braking system on here. The next thing we're going to talk about are the rewinds. Now, you'll see two rewinds here, one on the Orca and one on the Seal. These are just tubes for taking up material. So rewind or take up, same basic idea. So on these machines, these are removable. So I'm loosening up the clutch adjustment here, and then this spring loads in. Now, your rewind shafts on this type of machine are going to get their drive from the side opposite where the adjustment is. So it's going to be kind of hard to see in this video, but you're going to have some type of rubber O-ring here that is going to give you the drive on your rewind tube. Now, a lot of operators don't understand how this works, and they will tape the tube onto the drive so that it can't slip, and it needs to slip for the machine to work properly. So that is a common problem that you see out in the field. Somebody will take a big roll of Gorilla Tape and tape that because they think it needs to be tight all the time. It actually needs to slip. So your rewinds have clutches on them so that you can adjust how much the slip is. Both of these machines are going to have a rewind in the back as well, and what that's on there for is so that you can wind up your finished product after it's laminated. So if a machine has a take up or rewind on the back, it's generally going to be for roll to roll type operations. Next thing we're going to talk about are the idlers. Okay, I think probably the easiest one for you to see in this video setup is right down here. An idler is basically a tensioning bar, and so as we run the material through the machine, we're going to want it to contact the main roller as much as possible. So running the material behind this idler will actually give you more contact on the main roll. So you can tell an idler because it spins. If I look at some of these other heavy bars on the machine here and try to turn them, they won't turn. So those are part of the frame of the machine. So you would never want to run material across a frame piece of the machine. If it doesn't turn freely, then it's not an idler. Now, one last thing that we usually talk about when we're talking about the wide pieces on the machine is the feed table. A couple of different ways of doing things. Some machines are going to have a feed table that just folds out of the way, and so this one on the seal actually slides out. So I've brought this Seal 62 Pro in here for a few different reasons. Number one, just so you can see, this feed tray raises and lowers up instead of down. On this unit, both the unwind and rewind shafts are the same. It's just what position they're in, and they're removable. Instead of swinging out, they're going to lift out of the machine. And so from a technician standpoint, if you're having problems with getting drive or getting brake, it may be that the shaft is not meshing up with the hardware that's inside that makes it work. The other big difference on this unit is, you see you've got all your adjustments on the side here. This is going to be your clutch adjustment, this is going to be your brake adjustment, but the other shafts on the machine are combination shafts, so they can, when you turn them one way, they provide brake. When you turn them the other way, they provide clutch. So that's a little bit about the rollers and shafts on the machine and some other information for you, and we will see you in the next module.